Chapter 5: Work, Dignity, and Self-Discovery. Your work is to discover your world and then, with all your heart, give yourself to it. Buddha. I have always loved my work. There's a deep satisfaction I find in helping people, in doing something that brings ease, comfort, or relief to another person's life. My work always allowed me to do exactly that, and that's why I cherish it. I suppose it began long ago. Growing up, I was always busy. As I mentioned earlier in this book, I was always running errands, helping around the house, attending to one task after another. Those early experiences unknowingly built strength in me. They shaped my ability to serve others, find joy in giving, and to see dignity in work, no matter how small or ordinary it might seem. Then, there came a time when I began to feel something stir within me, a quiet restlessness that whispered there must be more. I loved what I was doing, but I knew I wasn't meant to stay in one place forever. I wanted to stretch, to explore, to know myself more deeply. There was an inner voice urging me to grow beyond my comfort zone. I wanted to do more, learn more, go further, and see what else I was capable of becoming. People around me often said, "You have so much potential. You can do great things." And though I appreciated their words, I sometimes struggled to see how to begin. It's one thing to believe in yourself, and another to know where to start. That uncertainty used to frustrate me, but in hindsight, it was a necessary part of my journey. It was what drew me into self-discovery. So I began to search intentionally. I bought books about finding purpose and understanding oneself. I devoured them, reading late into the night, hungry for direction. I wanted to understand the why behind my life, the reason I was wired the way I was. Along the way, I met a coach who became a mentor. Those conversations were eye-opening. They stretched my thinking and helped me see myself in a new light. That was when I realized life is not just about doing work, it is about doing meaningful work. Life is at its core about purpose. You can have everything: money, career, possessions, even recognition. But if you are not aligned with your purpose, you will still feel empty. Purpose gives meaning to our effort and joy to our accomplishments. When you are working in your purpose, you impact lives, you find happiness, and you honor the one who made you. It is a win on every side. I've met people who seem successful yet unhappy, and I've seen others who live simply but radiate peace. The difference is often purpose. Many who feel trapped in misery are simply walking in the wrong direction. They wake up every morning to do things that drain their energy rather than inspire them, jobs that pay the bills but starve their souls, relationships that dull their joy, routines that numb their passion. Life without purpose is motion without meaning. It is possible to be busy all day and still feel unfulfilled at night. True happiness comes from fulfillment, and fulfillment is deeply tied to purpose. Doing the things you were meant to do, living in alignment with what makes your soul come alive. Purpose isn't always grand or glamorous. Sometimes it's as simple as recognizing what you love and doing it wholeheartedly. The beautiful thing is that your purpose always leaves clues. It hides in your passions, in what excites you, in what makes you curious or even angry. It is in the compliments people often give you, those things they say you do effortlessly, in what motivates you, what brings you peace, and even in what breaks your heart. Your past experiences, both good and painful, often point towards it. Life leaves a trail of patterns, and when you look closely, you begin to see how all connects. For me, I began to notice certain patterns early in my life. I've always been drawn to making people happy. I find joy in serving others. I can't bear to see someone struggle when I have the ability to help. As a child, I was the only one, as a child, I was the one always doing things, and I never complained. I would still do them with a smile. I didn't see it as a burden, it gave me joy. People used to ask, "Why are you always so happy?" And I never had a deep answer. I just was. It felt natural. Over time, I realized that this was more than a personality trait. It was a pointer to my purpose. I believe we all have such pointers. Sometimes we overlook them because they seem ordinary, but those simple, natural inclinations are the quiet fingerprints of purpose. You might love cooking, organizing, teaching, writing, fixing things, designing, caring for people, or solving problems. Whatever comes naturally to you and gives you a sense of peace, when you do it, it is a clue. Many of us discover our gift by accident. We stumble upon something we enjoy doing and realize we're actually good at them. Maybe it's singing, drawing, speaking, or even just listening. The things that light us up are worth paying attention to. They are small doors to greater possibilities. For instance, some people are naturally drawn to beauty. They love to decorate, the style, or design. Others have a gift for confronting people with their words or presence. Some are very analytical, always finding solutions or seeing patterns others miss. These are not coincidences. They are signposts leading us towards what we are made for. And the beauty of purpose is that it unfolds in layers. You don't discover it all at once. It's a journey, a process that evolves with time. What you love at 20 might not be what you're going to be called for at 40. But each stage connects to the next. So each season brings new understanding. Each challenge reveals a part of who we are. And each success shows us another layer of our potential. The key is to remain curious, open, and willing to grow. Sometimes purpose is found in pain. The things we've suffered often prepare us to help others who go through the same. I've noticed how the experiences that once broke me have later become tools for healing others. Our struggles are never wasted. They are often the training ground for our calling. Dignity in purpose. Purpose alone is not enough. It must meet dignity in work. Work gives form to purpose. It's how we bring our inner calling into the world. And there's dignity in every honest labor. Whether you're cleaning, you're teaching, you're leading, or creating, work, when done with heart, becomes an act of love. It's how we contribute to the world around us. That's why I respect all kinds of work. I don't believe any task is too small or too great. What matters is the spirit behind it. When you work with integrity and joy, even simple things become significant. Through work, you grow in discipline. Work teaches us humility. It reminds us that greatness often starts with small steps done faithfully. Sometimes we underestimate the value of what we do because we compare ourselves with others. We look at someone else's journey and feel ours is too slow or too simple. But every journey is unique. The goal is not to compete, it is to contribute. As long as your work aligns with your purpose, it has meaning. The truth is, no one finds fulfillment by chasing someone else's dream. Real joy comes when you embrace your own. For me, it's been a journey of embracing who I am and what I'm called to do, not what others expect of me. And once I began to live from that place of clarity, life became lighter. Purpose and work have also led me to self-discovery. I've learned more about myself through work than through any other experience. Work reveals our strength, our limits, and our capacity to grow. It humbles us. It teaches us responsibility and resilience. It shows us how far we've come and how much we're capable of. Self-discovery, I've realized, is not just about finding new things. It is about remembering who you've always been. The essence of who you are has always been there. You just need to see it clearly. It's in the things that give you peace, the moments that make you come alive, and the roles that feel natural to you. And perhaps the greatest lesson I've learned is this: purpose doesn't demand perfection. It asks for progress. It works with progress. You don't have to have it all figured out to begin. You just have to start. The more you do what aligns with your heart, the clearer your path becomes. So as I look back, I can say that work has been more than a duty to me. It has been a mirror of self-discovery. Through it, I've learned discipline, compassion, and strength. I've learned that real dignity lies not in titles or positions, but in the joy and meaning we bring to what we do. And above all, I've learned that every effort, no matter how small, counts towards a bigger picture, one that continues to unfold beautifully with time. Passion and purpose. Sarah Breedlove, better known as Madam C.J. Walker, began life with almost nothing. Born in 1867 to former slaves on a cotton plantation in Louisiana, she became an orphan at 7 and a washerwoman by her early 20s. Life was anything but easy. She worked long hours, scrubbing clothes just to earn a few cents a day. Her hands were often cracked from soap and water. Her back ached from bending over the tubs, and her dreams seemed buried beneath endless chores. But something within her refused to give up. She noticed how many women like her struggle with hair loss and scalp problems because of harsh living conditions. That small observation stirred something deep in her heart. She began experimenting with homemade formulas, mixing oils and herbs in her kitchen, not knowing that her curiosity would one day change her life and the lives of countless others. Her product worked, and word began to spread. From door-to-door sales, she built what became one of the most successful black-owned businesses in America. Madam C.J. Walker became the first self-made female millionaire in the United States, employing thousands of women and teaching them business, self-care, and confidence. Her story wasn't about instant success. It was about finding purpose in the ordinary and allowing that purpose to grow into something extraordinary. What started as a struggle in the laundry room became a mission that empowered women and built a legacy of hope and resilience. She once said, "I got my start by giving myself a start." Our life reminds us that purpose doesn't always appear in grand beginnings. It's often hidden in the small, everyday tasks that seem routine, even exhausting. But when we walk with love, with vision, and with faith in what could be, those very tasks can become stepping stones towards greatness. Closing thoughts. 1. What kind of work makes you feel most alive? And why do you think it stirs something so deeply within you? 2. If all limitations were removed, what kind of service or contribution will you offer to the world? 3. What are the consistent patterns, passions, or compliments you've received from others that might be pointing you toward your life calling? Chapter 6. The Gift of Friendship. A real friend is one who walks in when the rest of the world walks out. Walter Winchell. Friendship to me has always been something sacred, a treasure that should be cherished, nurtured, and never taken for granted. I have never been surrounded by a large group of friends, and I've made peace with that. My circle has always been small, but it's deeply meaningful. When I call someone my friend, it carries weight. It's not a casual word to me. It is something sacred, a bond built on trust, understanding, and shared peace. I've always had a warm spot for people. I love to see others happy, to listen to their stories, and to share laughter and kindness. But alongside that warmth, I carry a sense of quietness. I'm naturally more reserved, more comfortable in stillness than in noise. I think I lean more toward being an introvert than an extrovert. I'm at my best when I'm around people who make me feel safe, people who understand silence and who don't rush to fill every moment with words. Growing up, I learned how to depend on myself. I got used to handling things alone, not because I didn't want help, but because I felt it was safer that way. Life taught me independence early. I still do things for others whenever I can, but I rarely expect anyone to do the same for me. I think that's one of the reasons I value friendships so deeply, because when someone chooses to care for you without being asked, it feels like a gift from heaven. When I'm with people I trust, my true self comes alive. I can talk for hours, laugh without restraint, and share my heart freely. But when I find myself in a new place or among unfamiliar faces, I become very quiet. Sometimes so quiet that they might think I'm shy, unsure, or even naive. But silence is not weakness. It doesn't mean I'm weak. It often means I'm observing. I like to understand people before I let them in. I pay attention to how they speak, how they treat others, and how they make me feel. It's from these small observations that I decide who can come closer to my heart. I've learned over time that not everyone is meant to be close to you, and that's okay. Friendship is not about collecting people, it is about connecting with the right ones. I love conversations that go beyond the surface, talks that open your mind, stir your heart, and help you to see life in a different way. I love people who are curious about life, who ask questions, who listen as much as they speak. I love people who are willing to learn, even if they don't have all the answers. The truth is, it is not perfection that makes a person beautiful. It is a willingness to grow. You can always see it in someone's heart. There's a small spark that says, I want to do better. People who are willing to grow never stay stuck. They remain open, flexible, and teachable. But when someone refuses to listen, when they always think they are right and everyone else is wrong, it becomes difficult to walk alongside them. Growth requires humility. Friendship requires understanding. When someone's heart is closed off, no new wisdom can enter. They become trapped inside their own opinions, unable to receive anything new. That's why the good book says, can two work together unless they agree? For two people to truly journey in friendship, their spirit must harmonize. They don't have to be identical, but there must be respect, kindness, and mutual growth. The right friendship should sharpen you, not dull your spirit. As iron sharpeneth iron, so one person sharpeneth another. That verse has always reminded me of what true friendship should feel like. A gentle shaping, not a harsh cutting. Friendship really is a gift. It brings warmth to lonely days and laughter to heavy ones. It offers a safe place where you can be yourself, unfiltered, unjudged, and understood. I thank God for blessing me with a friend like Clarice. She is one of those rare people whose presence feels like sunshine, gentle, kind, and reassuring. I believe our paths cross for a reason. I don't see our meeting as an accident. I see it as God's design. Who would have thought I would have met someone like her here in Europe, so far from everything familiar? Yet somehow, God placed her in my life right when I needed a friend. With Clarice, friendship feels easy and natural. There is no competition, no envy, no resentment, just love, laughter, and mutual respect. We can talk about anything, our dreams, our struggles, our faith, and still at the end of the day, feeling light and grateful. That kind of connection is rare. It reminds me that true friendship isn't about how long you've known someone, but about how deeply you connect. There have been times when I needed help, and without hesitation, she showed up, even when it meant making sacrifice. There have been times when she needed support, and I was there for her too. That is the beauty of friendship. It's about giving and receiving, carrying each other's burdens, and celebrating each other's victories. Who doesn't cherish good friends? Who doesn't feel stronger when surrounded by people of integrity and love? Friendship adds color to life. But I've also learned something important. If you want good friends, you must first be one. We attract who we are. Kind hearts attract kindness. Loyal hearts attract loyalty. If you want to be surrounded by love, you must first become love yourself. Many people say they've had bad friends or that they always meet the wrong people. But sometimes the problem isn't with others, it's also about us. It's within us. We mirror what we attract. If we don't work on our own hearts, we may continue to draw people who reflect our unhealed parts. Even when we meet someone who isn't right for us, if we are honest and self-aware, we will see the signs early. But when we ignore those signs or we share the same weaknesses, it can take much longer to recognize what's wrong. People can pretend for a while, but truth always finds a way to reveal itself. Mask eventually falls off. You begin to notice inconsistencies, small cracks in the facade, the words that don't match their actions, the promises that fade. And when those red flags appear, it is up to you to decide whether you want to stay or gently step away. Ignoring what your spirit warns you about can only lead to pain later. The same principle applies in romantic relationships. When you see signs that something isn't right, but convince yourself that, oh, the person will change, then you risk heartbreak. People change only when they truly desire it. You can't force someone to change just because you wish they would. Real change begins within. That's why discernment is so important. When you notice traits that trouble your peace, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, if this never changes, can I live with it? If the answer is no, then it's best to let go early rather than suffer later. Sometimes we hold on to people for temporary comfort. We enjoy their presence, their company, or what they bring to our lives in the moment. But short-term comfort can lead to long-term pain if we ignore what we know deep down. The truth is, the people we walk with shape our future. The wrong friendship can drain our joy and delay our growth. The right friendships, on the other hand, nurtures us, lift us, and bring out the best in us. That's why choosing who walks beside you is such an important decision. Surround yourself with people who make you better, who encourage you, who correct you gently, and who remind you of who you are when you forget. Choose friends who can pray with you, not gossip about you. Friends who stay not just during the celebrations, but also through the quiet, painful moments. In life, we meet all kinds of people. Some come to teach us lessons, others bring us blessings. Both are valuable. The lessons shape us, and the blessings remind us that love still exists. But above all, the friendship that endure, the one that are rooted in trust, patience, and grace, are those that are the ones that make life beautiful. The gift of friendship is one of life's sweetest way of saying you don't have to walk alone. It is a reminder that even in a world full of noise and distance, genuine connections still exist. And for that, I'm truly grateful for the few hearts that walk beside me, quietly sharpening my life and reminding me every day that love, in its purest form, is still the greatest gift of all. A friend in need is a friend indeed. I remember a story that touched me so deeply, a story that perfectly captured the quiet, enduring beauty of true friendship. It is about two young women, Sarah and Maya, whose bond reminded me of what truly means to walk through life with someone who sees you, believes in you, and refuses to let you give up on yourself. Sarah and Maya met in college. They were from different backgrounds, different countries, and even different faiths, but somehow their spirit connected almost instantly. Sarah was a quiet one, gentle, observant, and deeply reflective. Maya, on the other hand, was full of life, outspoken, warm, and endlessly compassionate. They were opposite in many ways, yet their differences became their strength. Maya drew Sarah out of her shell, while Sarah helped Maya slow down and reflect. Their friendship blossomed naturally. They studied together, shared meals, laughed over silly things, and often stayed up late talking about their dreams. They had that kind of friendship that didn't need constant communication to stay alive. Even in silence, they understood each other. After graduation, life pulled them in different directions. Sarah moved abroad to continue her studies, while Maya stayed back home to care for her ailing mother. They promised to keep in touch, But as it often happens, life got busy, months passed with only brief messages and mixed calls. Then one winter, everything changed. Sarah, who had always been independent and strong, suddenly found herself in a dark place. She had lost her job unexpectedly, and being far from home, she felt completely alone. Bills piled up, her confidence shattered, and the coldness of that foreign city seemed to echo the emptiness she felt inside. She withdrew from everyone. Days turned into weeks, and she stopped answering calls, even Maya's. But Maya somehow sensed something was wrong. She couldn't explain it, but she felt a pull in her spirit, as though her friend's silence was speaking louder than words. So, one day, she decided to reach out again and again, until finally Sarah picked up the phone. That sound of Maya's voice broke something open in her. Sarah began to cry, quietly at first, then uncontrollably. She poured out her heart, her fears, her disappointment, her loneliness. Maya didn't interrupt, she just listened. When Sarah finally stopped speaking, Maya said something she would never forget. "You don't have to go through all this alone. I may be far away, but I'm still here. You've carried everyone else for so long. Let me carry you this time." Those words were like sunlight breaking through a storm. In the weeks that followed, Maya called Sarah every day. Sometimes they spoke for hours, sometimes just a few minutes. Maya would send her small gifts, handwritten notes, books that she thought Sarah would love, little reminders that someone cared. She even started sending part of her own small income to help with Sarah's bills. Sarah was deeply moved. It wasn't about the money, it was the love behind it. Maya's kindness reminded her that she was still seen, still loved, still worth caring for. Slowly, she began to find her footing again. She started applying for jobs and taking walks to clear her mind. A few months later, she got an offer from a new company, a job that turned out to be even better than the one that she lost. Years later, when they finally reunited, Sarah told Maya something that brought tears to both their eyes. She said, "You saved me without even realizing it. You didn't fix everything, but your friendship reminded me that I wasn't forgotten. That gave me the strength to keep going." Their story is simple, but it carries a powerful truth. Real friendship doesn't fade when life gets difficult. It doesn't need to be perfect or constant to be strong. Sometimes it's just about being there, a voice on the phone, a message that says, "I'm thinking of you," or a quiet presence that reminds someone they are not alone. True friends may not always walk beside you physically, but their love walks with you in spirit. They celebrate your highs and sit with you through your lows. They don't demand explanation for your silence. They simply show up and wait for you to find your words again. That is the beauty of friendship, the kind that God ordains. It is not loud or showy. It is patient, kind, and consistent. It doesn't always fix your problems, but it holds your hands while you face them. It reminds you that love, when it's genuine, doesn't vanish when circumstances change. When I think about Sarah and Maya, I'm reminded of how divine true friendship can be. It is one of God's quiet miracles, the way He sent people into our life just when we need them most. Sometimes they come to lift us, sometimes they come so we can lift them. And in that sacred exchange of love and care, both hearts are strengthened. If you've ever had someone stand by you when you felt invisible, you know how healing that can be. Or if you've ever been that person for someone else, you know how fulfilling it feels to give without expecting anything in return. So, my dear, cherish your friends, the real ones, the ones who check on you without reason, the ones who pray for you behind closed doors, the ones who remind you of your worth when you forget. They are treasures, rare and priceless. Because at the end of the day, friendship isn't about who you've known the longest, it is about who walked into your life and refused to leave when things got hard. And that truly is the greatest gift of all. Closing thoughts. 1. What does true friendship mean to you? And how do you recognize it when you see it? 2. How selective are you about the people you allow into your inner circle, and what qualities draw you most to them? 3. What kind of friend are you becoming in this season of your life? And are you attracting the kind of friendship you desire? Chapter 7. Home Sweet Home. Home is not a place, it is a feeling. Cecilia Hahan. Where do you call your home? Is it the place where you were born or where you now live? For me, home is both. But even more, it is something deeper, something that transcends wall, geography, or even the sound of familiar voices. Home to me is where my spirit and soul find rest. It is a quiet place where peace dwells and love breathes. It is where joy feels natural, where satisfaction comes not from possessions but from connection. Home is a place where you can exhale. It's where chaos has no voice, where battles cease and your heart is calm. It is a warmth that greets you when you walk through the door after a long day. The sense that no matter how far you roam, you belong here. Within these walls, laughter lives, tears are wiped away, and love grows stronger with time. Yes, home is physical. Walls, windows, tables, chairs, beds, and all the beautiful things in the house. It is one place you can return to, unmasked, unjudged, and unafraid. It is your safe place, your personal peace, your reminder that life can still be beautiful. That's why for me, nothing should ever take you away from your home. Not just your physical dwelling, but that deeper space within where peace and love abide. I have 2 homes, one in Sweden and one in Togo, and I love both deeply. Sweden is where I live now, where I raise my children and build my dreams. It is where I have learned resilience, independence, and the quiet freedom of life in a calm society. But Togo, my home of birth, remains a part of me, a heartbeat that never fades, a place that still holds the voices, laughter, and the love of my family and relatives. It is where my roots are planted, even as my wings have carried me across continents. Home in Togo. My home in Togo is sweet. Every time I return, I'm filled with an indescribable joy, a feeling that settles deep within my spirit. The moment I step off the plane, something shifts. The air feels different, warmer, softer, familiar. There's a calmness that greets me, a serenity that brings a sense of belonging. I can almost hear my ancestors saying, "Welcome home." Togo is a wonderful country, that small yet beautiful gem in West Africa where life feels genuine, colorful, and pure. It is that place that shaped my childhood, molded my values, and taught me the ends of living with joy, even when life is simple. For me, Togo isn't just a spot on the map, it is my heartbeat, the scent of my earliest memories, my home. I grew up in a warm, closely knit community where everyone knew each other. I'm Chamba, born in Chaudhou Prefecture, and I speak Kotokoli, a language also known as Tem or Temba, spoken across Togo, Ghana, Benin, and Burkina Faso. Growing up in this community shaped every part of who I am, my character, my faith, my way of seeing the world. We are known for our calm and gentle nature, our hospitality, and our deep respect for people. In our community, respect was woven into daily life. No one ever walked past an elderly person without greeting them. It was unthinkable. You bowed slightly, smiled warmly, and said, "Bavini Kozo," meaning good morning or good day. With genuine sincerity, life revolved around family and togetherness. You could never truly be alone. There was always someone nearby to lend a hand, to share a story, or offer a bowl of hot food. And speaking of food, that remains one of my sweetest memories. The air often filled with a delicious aroma of yam or cassava fufu, paired with spicy groundnut soup or slippery okra stew. There was also wache, rice and beans cooked together and served with pepper sauce and fried plantain. On special days, we feasted on Togolese jollof, rich with tomatoes, or pounded yam with light soup that nourished both your body and soul. In every Kotikoli home, food was more than a meal. It was love expressed in flavors. It was the laughter around the pot, the stories told as we stared, the warmth shared with every serving. As a child, I loved watching my mother cook over an open fire. She would hum softly, speaking in our local language. I loved the blend, the earthly tones of tame words mixing with the rhythm of her voice, the crackling sound of firewood beneath the pot, and the smell of smoke and spice rising together. At the same time, it felt ordinary. Now it feels sacred, a tender echo of everything I miss most. The Kotikoli people are known not only for hospitality, but also for their strong sense of discipline and respect. From an early age, we were taught that humility and patience are virtues that carry you far in life. You greeted with both hands, spoke gently to elders, and listened before responding. Every word mattered. Our elders often remind us words are like seeds. Once sown, they will grow somewhere. That saying has stayed with me all my life. It's probably why I value gentleness and calmness in people. They remind me of home, of a culture that teaches grace in speech and peace in action. Then there were the festivals, vibrant, colorful, and full of life. During festive periods, everyone dressed beautifully in bright traditional attire. The sound of drums filled the air. Children danced freely, and the scent of roasted meat and rich spices drifted through the neighborhood. Those days were filled with joy and laughter, with neighbors visiting one another, sharing food, and exchanging blessings. No matter the challenges people faced, festival days reminded us of what truly mattered: our faith, family, gratitude, and love. Togo's natural beauty remained etched in my memory. I remember walking along red earth roads that stretched endlessly beneath the sun, the tall palm trees swaying gently in the breeze, and the sunset that painted in the sky in the deep orange and gold. Nights were alive with the sounds of crickets, the rustle of leaves, and the distant laughter of children playing barefoot under the moonlight. Those simple moments shaped my soul. They taught me to slow down, to notice, to cherish the beauty in ordinary things. Life in Togo had a rhythm of its own, unhurried, heartfelt, and full of human connection. We didn't have much, but we had joy. We found happiness in little things, sitting under the moonlight sharing stories, fetching water together at dawn, or helping one another during harvest. The sense of togetherness was strong. Everyone was like family. When one person celebrated, the whole community rejoiced. When one person grieved, we all gathered to comfort them. That unity, that shared humanity, made home feel safe and sacred. It was love in its purest form, the assurance that no matter what life brought, someone cared. Even now, living far from Togo, those values live in me. I still find myself smiling at strangers, offering help when I can, or pausing to appreciate the beauty of small moments, because that's what Togo and being Kotikoli taught me. It taught me that greatness is not about wealth or status, but about the heart, about kindness, humility, and compassion. It taught me that life's true richness lies in relationships, in gratitude, and in peace of mind. I miss the taste of home, the sweetness of fresh fruits from the market, the smell of roasted meat by the roadside, the chatter of women drawing water at the well. I miss hearing Kotikoli spoken in the street, the joyful shout of children chasing old bicycle tires, the elders sitting under trees sharing wisdom that flow like poetry. Togo will always be part of me. It is the soil that nourished my roots, the sky that watched me grow, and the culture that shaped my soul. No matter where life takes me, whether I'm in Sweden or anywhere else in the world, I will always carry Togo in my heart. Its rhythm, its flavors, its people, its peace. Because home is not only the place where you were born, It is a place where your soul first learned to love, to dream, and to belong. And for me, that place will forever be Togo, my home sweet home. Home in Sweden. Home in Sweden is beautiful. It is calm and organized. Every time I come back from work, the moment I open the door, a deep sense of peace washed over me. I know I'm home, where I can rest, laugh, and just be myself. My apartment is decent and warm, filled with the sounds of family life. We eat together, talk, dance, and sometimes simply sit in silence, enjoying each other's presence. These small, ordinary moments are what make my house a home. Weekends are special to me. They are my time to reset, clean, and prepare for the week ahead. I love cleaning my house. It gives me a sense of order and peace. I tidy the rooms, do the laundry, and cook our meals for the week. With children, there's always something to clean. Clothes, dishes, the kitchen floor. But I don't mind. I actually find joy in maintaining a neat and healthy environment. Cleanliness to me is a sign of discipline and care. It's something I've taught my children too. I want them to grow up knowing that being clean is not just about appearance, but also about health and respect for oneself and others. When it comes to food, I have my favorites. I love chicken grilled, roasted, or cooked in any delicious way. I also enjoy fish, potatoes, salad, and pasta. My children each have their own preferences, and as a mother, I try to make sure everyone eats what's good for them. I'm careful about allergies, both at home and at school, so that nothing unexpected happens. And thank God we've been doing well. Home for us is also about togetherness. We play, we talk, we share our thoughts, we also pray together. We create memories that make ordinary days feel special. Life and activities. Our home life is never dull. We love engaging in activities that bring us together. Sometimes we go swimming, visit children parks, or attend festivals and events organized in Stockholm. The city is vibrant and full of family-friendly experiences. My boys enjoy basketball, football, and video games, anything that gets their energy flowing. As for me, one of my greatest joys has always been cycling. I've loved bicycles since I was a child. Growing up in Togo, I used to rent bikes from neighbors and ride around the neighborhood until my money ran out. I remember how free I felt on those rides, the wind on my face, the open road ahead. Even when my parents sent me on errands, I found ways to combine them with cycling. Later, my brother taught me how to ride a motorcycle. That made my love for two wheels grow even more. So, when I came to Sweden and I saw bicycles everywhere, I smiled. It felt like God had brought me to a place that matched one of my passions. Since then, I've owned several bicycles and I use them almost every day. To work, to the store, or to anywhere within reach. It's not only convenient but also keeps me fit. Each ride is a quiet meditation for me, a time to think and feel connected with nature. Besides cycling, I also enjoy reading, engaging in meaningful conversations, and taking peaceful walks. These little routines make my life rich and balanced. After living in Sweden for over 16 years, I can confidently say I'm home. I know the language, the people, and the rhythm of life here. I've learned the system, adapted to the culture, and become part of the society. This country has become a part of me, and I aspire to give back by contributing positively, helping others, and supporting causes that make life better for everyone. One of the things I deeply admire about Sweden is how the system works, and works well. It is a country that values its people, especially the young ones. The opportunities given to children and youth are remarkable. Here, the government truly invests in its future generation. Maternal and paternal leaves are generous and respected, giving parents time to nurture their children. The government also provides child support to ensure every child's basic needs are met. Education too is treated with high regard. Children are not just encouraged to go to school, they are supported and sometimes even paid while they study. That kind of motivation builds confidence and commitment in young minds. And beyond financial support, there is also genuine care. Teachers, tutors, and mentors take their time to guide and help students. There's a belief that no child is hopeless. Every child, no matter their background or struggles, is given a chance to thrive. It is no wonder Sweden has produced many great thinkers, innovators, and inventors. The system here believes that children are the future of the nation, and as they get educated, they will become responsible adults. That's why I'm proud to be part of a country that values education and human development. Home training. In a country that supports children so well, the work of parenting cannot be replaced. The government can provide structure, but only parents can provide home training. We must teach our children to be kind, responsible, and disciplined. There's an adage that says, charity begins at home. We cannot expect good behavior from our children in public if we have not first nurtured it in private. The home is where character is shaped, where habits are formed, and where seeds of integrity are sown. In today's digital age, it is even more crucial. Social media has become a powerful influence, sometimes positive, often not. As parents, we must be vigilant. We must monitor what our children see and hear, what they consume online, and who they follow. The minds of the young ones are fertile soil. Whatever is planted there will grow. That's why we must plant goodness, faith, and wisdom. Home should be the first school, a place where children learn values, respect, and empathy. When a child feels loved at home, the world outside becomes less frightening. Building a safe and prosperous home. Whether in Sweden, Togo, or anywhere else, we all share the responsibility of making our communities safe and prosperous. If this world is our collective home, then we must all take responsibility for it. Parents must nurture, teachers must teach, leaders must lead with integrity, and citizens must care for one another. Only then can our home, our world, be peaceful and beautiful. For me, both of my homes, Sweden and Togo, are gifts. Each holds a piece of my story, my heart, and my faith. Togo taught me resilience, simplicity, and family love. Sweden taught me structure, order, and balance. Together, they remind me that home is not limited to a single address. It is where peace, love, and purpose dwell. Closing thoughts. 1. What does home truly mean to you? Is it a physical place, a feeling, or the people who make you feel seen and loved? 2. How has the culture or community where you grew up shaped the way you see yourself and relate to others today? 3. Which childhood memories still echo in your heart, and what did it teach you about gratitude, simplicity, and joy? Chapter 8. The strength in our struggles. In the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity. About Einstein. Joy Mangano was born in 1956 in the New York City, United States. She grew up facing the challenges of everyday life and later became a single mother of 3, working long hours to support her family. Her life wasn't easy. In fact, she lived a life that many might describe as ordinary, but her heart burned with extraordinary dreams. Every day, she worked long shifts as a waitress, trying to keep food on the table and a roof over her children's heads. Bills piled up faster than she could pay them, and exhaustion lingered like a shadow that followed her everywhere. Yet, even in her weariness, Joy carried something powerful within her. An inner whisper that said, there must be more to my life than this. It wasn't pride or greed that made her long for more. It was passion, a longing to create something meaningful, to take our struggles and turn them into something beautiful, not just for herself, but for others. One evening, while cleaning her home, Joy faced one of those small yet irritating frustrations that every homemaker knows too well: the stubborn mop. The bucket of dirty water, the endless bending and wringing, the sore hands, the mess that never seemed to end. She stopped for a moment and stared at the mop in her hands. Most people would have simply sighed and gone on cleaning, but Joy paused and thought, there has to be a better way. That simple thought became the seed of transformation. Destiny doesn't always appear in grand visions or dramatic encounters. It often begins in small moments of frustration, when we dare to look at life and say, I can make this better. Joy began sketching designs in a notebook, using whatever little time she could spare between her work and taking care of her kids. Her children would sometimes find her sitting on the kitchen floor late at night, surrounded by tools and pieces of fabric, her face lit by the dim glow of a lamp. To them, it might have looked like she was just tinkering, but inside, something sacred was taking shape, faith in motion. Her idea was to create a mop that could wring itself, so no one would have to touch dirty water again. She wanted to make life easy for people, especially for women like her who work tirelessly, often unseen, balancing jobs, homes, and endless chores. She called it the miracle mop. But as with every process, that path was not smooth. The moment you decide to step into something meaningful, resistance appears. Joy faced rejection after rejection. Investors dismissed her idea. Manufacturers doubted her ability. Friends told her to stop chasing dreams and focus on what was real. But she could not stop. There was something in her spirit that wouldn't let her quit. Every no she heard only pushed her to find another way. She sold items from her home to fund her prototypes. She taught herself about materials and mechanics. When people doubted her, she leaned on faith and perseverance. When she failed, she reminded herself that every failure was just a lesson dressed in disguise. Eventually, she found a small factory willing to take a chance on her. She poured her heart and every penny she had into producing the first batch of miracle mops. But when they hit the shelves, sales were dismal. No one was buying. Most people had never heard of her, and stores weren't interested in promoting an unknown inventor. For many, that would have been the end of the road, but not for Joy. She believed too deeply in what she had created. She believed in the value of helping people, in making their everyday lives just a little easier. So she took another bold step. She decided to demonstrate the mop herself on live television on the QVC network. The producers were hesitant. She was nervous. She had no media training, no marketing experience, and certainly no guarantee that it would work. But she went on anyway. Standing under the bright studio lights, her hands trembling, she began to speak, not as a salesperson, but as a woman who truly believed in what she had made. She demonstrated how the mop worked, showing the audience how it could clean and wring without mess. Her sincerity, her humility, and her passion touched people's hearts. Within minutes, the phones started ringing, orders flooded in, thousands upon thousands of them. In that moment, Joy Mangano's life changed forever. But even more importantly, her story became a testimony of strength born out of struggle. She showed that our pain, frustration, and hard work are not in vain. They can be the very tools that shape our purpose and reveal our strength. Joy went on to create over 100 inventions and even more, and owed more than 100 patents. She became a self-made millionaire and an inspiration to millions of women around the world. Yet, she remained deeply connected to her roots, to the simple truth that purpose is not about fame or fortune, but about impact. It is about using what you have right where you are to make a difference. Our journey teaches us that strength doesn't come from avoiding struggles, it comes from embracing them. It is in the late nights when you feel unseen but keeps going anyway. It is in the moment when doors close and you choose to believe there's another one waiting to open. It is in the quiet persistence of doing what you believe in, even when no one else understands. The power of perseverance. When I look at Joy's story, I see the power of perseverance. She never gave up or gave in. Every setback she faced was preparing her for something greater. Every no taught her resilience. Every challenge deepened our creativity. Without those struggles, the miracle mop might have never been born. Sometimes we think our difficulties are punishment or signs that we are on the wrong path, but often they are the very training ground of purpose. Struggles refine us. They reveal what we truly value. They stretch us, strengthen us, and strip away everything that isn't essential so that what's left is pure faith, courage, and conviction. Perhaps that's what strength in our struggles truly means. It's not about never feeling weak or tired. It's about continuing to believe, continuing to hope, continuing to act even when everything around you tells you to stop. Every person who has achieved something meaningful has walked through the valley of struggle. Madam C.J. Walker faced poverty and discrimination before becoming America's first self-made millionaire. Joy Mangano battled exhaustion, doubt, and failure before a breakthrough. Their stories are reminders that greatness is not born in comfort, it is forged in fire. And maybe that's what you need to hear today. Maybe you're walking through your own struggle, feeling invisible or inadequate. Maybe you've tried and failed and tried again, wondering if your effort will ever pay off. Let Joy's story remind you your current struggle might just be the soil where your purpose is growing. I don't want you to despise your small beginnings. Don't dismiss the little frustrations or the ordinary work you do every day. Inside those moments lie seeds of greatness. The things that bother you, the challenges you face, the passion that stirs within you, those are clues. They are guiding you towards something bigger. When Joy first stared at that dirty mop, she couldn't have imagined the future that awaited her. But she paid attention, she acted, she persevered, and through her, millions of people found a bit of ease in their lives. That is the beauty of purpose. It begins with one person's decision to care, to create, and to keep believing, no matter how small they start. Strength in our struggles is not about perfection. It is about persistence. It is about trusting that even when you cannot see the outcome, your faith and hard work are never wasted. You may not know where the journey will lead, but if you stay true to your purpose, every step, every tear, every setback, every long night will make sense in the end. Closing thoughts. Number 1. What current struggle in your life might actually be preparing you for something greater, even if you don't see it yet? 2. How do you usually respond when life gets hard? Do you retreat in fear, or do you pause and ask, what is this moment trying to grow in me? 3. If you could see your struggles not as setbacks, but as seeds, what new possibilities will you begin to water today? Chapter 9. Triumphing over trials and troubles. Although the world is full of suffering, it is also full of the overcoming of it. Ellen Keller. The first time Amina left her homeland, she carried nothing but a small brown suitcase. A heart full of hope and a quiet prayer whispered beneath her breath. The road that stretched before her was long and uncertain, but she believed that somewhere along a dusty trail, she would find peace, a life beyond the ache of disappointment and the memories that refused to fade. Life had not been kind to her. Born in a small village surrounded by hills and the homes of cicadas, Amina learned early that love and suffering could dwell under the same roof. Her father was a farmer, a man of few words but heavy burdens, and her mother, a woman of faith whose eyes always searched the horizon for better days. Her home was poor but warm, the kind of place where neighbors shared everything, their food, their laughter, even their pain. Amina grew up dreaming of becoming a teacher. She wanted to teach children how to read not just words but life itself, to help them see beyond their surroundings and believe in something greater. But dreams, she would later learn, are fragile things. They must be guarded fiercely, for the world has a way of breaking what it does not understand. When she was 21, she met Kofi. Charming, ambitious, and full of promises. He spoke of cities she had never seen, of opportunities that seemed endless, and of a love that would outlast the storms. For a while, he made her believe she could touch the sky. They married quietly in the courts, surrounded by friends who sang songs of joy, but joy, like the morning dew, soon vanished with the rising sun. After a year, Kofi left for Europe, promising to send for her once he was settled. Weeks turned to months, and into years. Letters stopped coming. The neighbors whispered, and Amina's mother wept in silence. When the truth finally arrived, it was brutal. Kofi had found someone else. He had built another life and buried the memory of the woman who once prayed for him beneath the African moon. Betrayal was a way of hollowing out the heart. Amina felt it deeply, like a wound that refused to heal. For months, she wandered through life like a shadow, showing up at the market, tending to her mother, but feeling nothing inside. The laughter of others became a reminder of her own pain. Nights were the hardest. She would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, asking God why love had to hurt so much. But even pain can be a teacher. One morning, while sitting under the baobab tree near our family's home, she watched a group of children running barefoot. Their laughter filled the air. Something stirred inside her. She remembered her whole dream, the one buried beneath the weight of heartbreak and betrayal. That same week, she gathered her few belongings, kissed her mother goodbye, and left for the city. City life was not what she imagined. It was loud, crowded, and unkind to those who arrived with empty pockets. She found work as a house help for a wealthy family, long hours, little pay, and no respect. Yet, even in the kitchen's dim light, surrounded by pots and pans, she whispered prayers. Each night, she saved a small portion of her earnings, and with time, she enrolled in evening classes. It was not easy. There were days she came home too tired to eat, nights she cried herself to sleep, and mornings when she wanted to give up. But hope has a quiet strength. It doesn't shout, it whispers, try again. And so she did. Years passed. Slowly, her life began to take shape again. She finished her studies, became a teacher, and started teaching children from poor communities, children who, like her, had known pain too soon. Her classroom was simple, but her lessons were rich with love. She taught them math and reading, but also resilience and faith. You are not what happened to you, she would tell them. You are what you choose to become. Then came another trial. Her mother fell ill. Amina had to travel back home to care for her. The woman who once carried her on her back now needed her strength. Those were hard months, juggling her work, hospital visits, and sleepless nights. But in the quiet of that season, Amina found something precious: gratitude. Gratitude that her mother lived long enough to see her daughter rise again. Gratitude that she still had the strength to love, to forgive, to begin anew. When her mother passed, Amina was broken, yes, peaceful. She finally understood that life was not about avoiding pain, but learning to walk through it with grace. Her journey had been full of trials, betrayal, loneliness, loss, and poverty. Yet none of them had defeated her. They had refined her, shaped her, made her gentle but strong. Years later, she moved abroad to work as a caregiver. There, she met people from all walks of life, some kind, some indifferent, some broken like she once was. Many nights, she would sit by her window, looking out at the snow-covered streets, remembering the red soil of home. She missed the laughter of the market women, the rhythm of the drums on market days, the scent of roasted corn by the roadside. But even in her longing, she felt peace, because she had learned that home was not just a place, it was a state of heart, and ours was finally whole. She started writing, simple reflections at first, then stories inspired by her life. People began to read her words online, touched by her honesty and hope. Her writings became a light for those in dark places. How do you stay strong after so much pain? One reader asked. Amina smiled and wrote, because I finally learned that the trials that once broke me became the very soil where my faith grew. That became a message to the world that life will test you, sometimes beyond what you think you can endure. People will disappoint you, dreams will shatter, but if you keep believing, if you refuse to let bitterness take root, you will rise again. Maybe not the same person, but a wiser one, a gentler one, a stronger one. Today, Amina stands before a student with a smile that carries stories untold. Her eyes still glisten when she talks about home, about a journey that shaped her. Children, she often says, the storms of life do not come to destroy you, but to clear your path. Every pain you feel is a seed of purpose waiting to bloom. And when she finishes her lessons, she walks home through the dusty streets, her heart quiet but full. She has found her peace in wealth, not in love return, but in the beauty of endurance. Her life is living proof that no trials last forever, and that faith, though sometimes silent, always triumphs. Dear friends, trials are not always signs of negativity. Sometimes they are proof of a better future. Every time life tests you, it's refining your faith and revealing your strength. Life, Amina realized, is not a straight road. It bends, it breaks, it surprises. Sometimes it leads through valleys so deep that the sunlight seems far away. But every step, even the painful ones, carries purpose. Every wound has wisdom hidden inside it. Every delay holds a lesson. The secret to triumphing over trials is not in escaping them, but in allowing them to shape you without hardening you. Pain is a teacher, not an enemy. It can either make you bitter or make you better, and the choice is always yours. Amina's story reminds us that no heartbreak is final, no failure is wasted, and no season lasts forever. The same creator who watches the sparrows still watches over you. It turns broken pieces into beautiful mosaics. It makes rivers flow in the desert of despair. When storms rage and the world feels too heavy to bear, remember this: even the darkest night must give way to dawn. Keep walking, keep believing, keep holding on to hope, because one day when you look back, you will see that what tried to destroy you actually built you. What once hurt you became the very thing that healed you, and what once seemed like the end was only the beginning of something more beautiful than you've ever imagined. Closing thoughts. 1. What trials in your life have shaped you the most, and how have they changed the way you see yourself or others? 2. In moments when you felt alone or forgotten, what quiet strength or faith helped you keep moving forward? 3. How can you transform your personal struggles into stories of hope that inspire others, just as Amina did? Chapter 10. The courage to begin again. Our greatest glory is not in never failing, but in rising every time we fall. Confucius. If anyone had told me years ago that I would one day be standing on my own 2 feet, stronger, wiser, and more peaceful than I've ever been, I might have laughed through my tears. Because truthfully, I didn't even know that I had the courage to begin again. Life has a way of testing your limits, of stretching your heart until you wonder if it will ever heal. But somehow it does, and somehow you do too. There are moments I look back at my life and quietly ask myself, how did I survive all that? The weight of everything: family struggles, heartbreak, the pain of broken trust, the endless responsibilities of motherhood sometimes felt unbearable. I was young, yet life demanded maturity from me long before I was ready. I was a mother, yet I was still learning how to mother myself, how to nurture the wounded part of me that had been overlooked, silenced, or forgotten. Still, I pressed on because when you have children looking up to you, depending on you, you somehow find strength in places you never knew existed. The fear. Fear. It was one of my earliest and most persistent companions. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough, fear of the future, even fear of success. Because what if I succeeded and I couldn't sustain it? What if people turned against me or misunderstood me? For years, fear had a voice in my life. Sometimes it whispered doubts, other times it screamed impossibilities. It followed me into new spaces, into fresh beginnings, and into the quiet moment where I dared to dream again after disappointment. It made me question my worth, shrink back from opportunities, and doubt the sound of my own voice. I allowed fear to set boundaries around my life. I feared being alone. I feared trying and failing. I feared starting over because I thought beginnings were for people who hadn't been broken. But I was wrong. Beginnings are for the brave, for those who have been broken and still believe that life can bloom again. Courage, I've learned, isn't the absence of fear. It is a decision to move forward even when your heart is trembling. Sometimes courage is loud, a bold step into the unknown, but often it is a quiet whisper that says, I will try again tomorrow. It's waking up each morning and choosing life again and again, even when you're tired, uncertain, or afraid, because the moment you face fear with faith, fear begins to lose its grip. And in that moment, you realize you were never powerless. You were simply learning how to be brave. The weight of motherhood. There's a kind of strength that only mothers know, the kind that doesn't always roar, but simply keeps going. I know what it's like to wipe tears in silence so your children won't see you cry. I know the exhaustion of balancing 5 different worlds while trying to hold your own together and wondering if you're doing enough or if you're not enough. Raising 5 children alone was never part of the plan. It wasn't how I imagined my story would unfold, but life doesn't always ask for permission. It simply happens. And when it does, you either surrender to bitterness or rise with courage. There were nights when I wanted to collapse from sheer fatigue, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Yet every time I looked at my children, I saw a reason to try again. They became my why, my inspiration, my proof that love can rebuild what life has tried to break. Motherhood taught me the truest definition of love and endurance. It isn't glamorous or perfect, it is sacrificial, stretching, and often silent. There were days I wanted to scream from exhaustion, but then I had seen 5 pairs of eyes looking at me with trust and love, and then I would remember why I couldn't give up. Each child became a mirror, reflecting part of my strength I didn't know existed. They taught me patience, resilience, and forgiveness. They reminded me that even in my weakest moments, I was still their safe place, their comfort, their home. Motherhood is both a weight and a gift. It demands everything from you, yet gives you endless reasons to rise again every single day. It breaks you open and then fills you with a love so deep it teaches you how to rebuild stronger than before. Breaking free and healing forward. Ending an abusive relationship was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Abuse doesn't always come as a loud shout. Sometimes it's quiet control, manipulation, or subtle words that make you doubt yourself. You stay because you hope it will change, to get better. You see, you pray that it will get better. You convince yourself that love can fix what is broken, but love shouldn't hurt. Like I said in the book earlier, when staying starts to destroy your peace, You learn that walking away isn't failure, it is freedom. Living wasn't just about walking away, it was about walking towards myself. It was about reclaiming the woman I had buried under years of fear, shame, and guilt. It was about choosing peace over pain and self-worth over mere survival. Ending that chapter was terrifying. I stepped into the unknown with no guarantees and no clear path. But deep inside, I knew I couldn't heal in the same environment that had wounded me. So I gathered my fragments, gathered my children, and walked out. I didn't feel brave at the time. I just knew I couldn't stay stuck. Looking back, that was courage in its purest form, choosing to begin again, even when everything inside you feels shattered. Healing didn't come overnight, it came in layers, through tears, silence, prayers, and rediscovery. I had to learn patience with myself, to forgive myself for staying too long, and to trust myself again. I used to think that living was the end, but now I see that living was the beginning of freedom, self-love, and wholeness. Breaking free was the first step. Healing forward is a journey that continues, one breath, one prayer, one brave step at a time. Letting go of what doesn't grow you. Sometimes it's not abuse that holds us back, it is comfort. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's the truth. When we become comfortable enough not to take action, we remain in that abusive state. We keep giving excuses and reasons why we can't move. But this is not a relationship that is good for us. It is a kind that doesn't help us grow, doesn't challenge us, doesn't honor the person we are becoming. I had to end unproductive, unprogressive connections, those that drained my energy and dimmed my light. Letting go wasn't easy. It was painful, humbling, and lonely at times. But I learned that not everyone who starts with you is meant to finish with you. Some people come into your life to teach you strength, boundaries, and discernment. And when their season is over, you must have the courage to release them and trust that better days are ahead. Letting go isn't weakness, it is wisdom. It is realizing that you can't carry everyone and everything with you into your future. Some relationships aren't bad, they are just not aligned with your next season. I learned to release people without bitterness and to bless them as they go. Each goodbye became both an ending and a beginning, a sacred chance to rediscover who I was without needing validation from others. Every departure created space for something better, something truer. Because life isn't about holding tighter, it is about learning when to let go and when to grow. And in that process, I discover one of life's greatest truths. Peace is the reward of alignment. When your soul, your choices, and your purpose agree, life begins to flow again, and you finally become free to bloom where you are meant to be. The fear of what people will say and the freedom of being you. One of the quietest fears I've had to confront was the fear of what people will say, the fear of being judged, misunderstood, or rejected. As a single mother, I often felt like I lived under a microscope. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone had a whisper. The opinions, the stares, the quiet judgment, they can make you doubt your progress and question your worth. But I realized something freeing. People will always talk, whether you rise or fall, do good or bad, so you might as well rise. No one else walks in your shoes or carries your exact pain, purpose, or calling. I had to learn to silence the noise of the crowd and listen to the whisper of my own soul. I stopped living to please others and started living to please my God and honor the woman I was becoming. I learned to set boundaries, protect my peace, and choose authenticity over approval. Because being yourself is the boldest act of courage. It is standing tall and saying, "This is me, flawed, growing, and still worthy." True peace doesn't come from people's acceptance, it comes from knowing who you are and whose you are. The moment you stop living for validation and start living in alignment with your truth, you discover the beautiful freedom of simply being you, becoming your own inspiration. There comes a point in life when you stop waiting for someone to rescue you and start realizing you are the one you've been waiting for. I became my own encourager. I stopped seeking validation and started celebrating my own small wins. A peaceful morning, a completed task, a night without tears. These became victories. Sometimes courage is built in the quiet moments when no one sees your effort, when no one praises your progress. You keep going anyway because you know your life deserves a second chance. There was a time in Joanne Rowling's life when everything seemed to fall apart. She was in her early 30s, a single mother, unemployed, and living in a small, dimly lit flat in Edinburgh, Scotland. The days were long and lonely. The nights were even longer. Money was scarce, and the weight of our reality often felt unbearable. Yet, in that season of quiet struggle, a small spark remained, a story. She carried it everywhere she went, in her mind, in her heart, and on scattered pieces of paper in her bag. It was a story of a boy wizard who didn't yet know who he was, but who would one day find his power through courage, friendship, and love. That story will become Harry Potter. But back then, before the world knew her name, Joanne knew rejection. She had been turned down 12 times by different publishers. 12 doors closed before one finally opened. Each rejection letter whispered the same thing, not good enough. And yet, something within her refused to die. That something was courage, the courage to begin again. Every no only pushed her to refine her work, to write better, to hold tighter to the dream that had once made her heart come alive. She didn't have much, but she had persistence. And persistence, when fueled by purpose, always leads to great results. Joanne later said in an interview, "Rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life." That statement carries the weight of every tear, every lonely night, every doubt that tried to silence her pen. The truth is, life will sometimes strip you of everything: comfort, stability, recognition, just so you can discover what truly remains. And what remained in Joanne's life was the courage to keep going, to try again, to create from pain rather than being crushed by it. When Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was finally published in 1997, Joanne, known to the world as J.K. Rowling, became an emblem of hope to millions. Her story spoke to more than just readers; it spoke to anyone who had ever been told, "You can't." She proved that you can. Connecting the dots. When I think of J.K. Rowling's story, I see pieces of my own. The silent years, the sleepless nights, the rejections, and the small moments of hope that kept me going when everything seemed lost. Like her, I've learned that courage isn't always a roar, it is often a whisper. It is a decision to rebuild after everything has fallen apart. It is a quiet faith that says, "I still have something to give." Sometimes, the most powerful beginnings are born from the ashes of what once was. And when you finally step into that new beginning, with trembling hands and a hopeful heart, you realize something sacred. You were never starting from nothing, you were starting from experience, wisdom, and strength that only life trials could teach you. And that is the beauty of beginning again. Rediscovering purpose. After pain, there's always a pause, a quiet moment when everything stands still. It's as if life itself takes a deep breath, waiting for you to decide what comes next. In that stillness, you may feel lost, uncertain, or even numb, but hidden within that pause is a sacred invitation, an opportunity to rediscover your purpose. When I reached that point in my life, I began to ask myself gentle, honest questions. What do I love? What makes me feel alive again? The answers didn't come all at once. They arrived gradually, like light breaking through the clouds. I found joy in simple things, in writing my thoughts, in caring for the people I love, in listening to others and helping them heal. Each small rediscovery became a bridge, guiding me back to who I truly was beneath the pain. Purpose, I learned, doesn't always arrive with thunder or applause. Sometimes it whispers through the rhythm of ordinary days, in the peace of morning coffee, the laughter of children, the comfort of doing what's right and true. When you begin to follow what whispers, no matter how faint, life starts to bloom again. It's not about returning to who you were before the storm, but about becoming someone deeper, wiser, and more whole. Pain may change you, but purpose redeems you. It gives new meaning to the pieces you thought were lost, and in finding that quiet, beautiful purpose again, you will discover not just your path, but yourself. The beauty of starting small. Starting over doesn't always come with grand plans or perfect clarity. Sometimes it begins quietly, right where you are, with whatever strength, hope, or courage you have left. When I began rebuilding my life, I didn't have everything figured out. There were days when the path ahead seemed blurry and uncertain, yet I had my faith, my will to keep going, and my children, treasures that gave me reason to rise again, and that was enough. In those fragile beginnings, I often thought of how, as a mother myself, we nurse our babies. We don't rush them to walk before they learn to crawl. We don't expect strength before nourishment or maturity before time. Day by day, we give whatever we have. Sometimes our milk, sometimes our comfort, sometimes just our presence. We wake in the stillness of night, patiently feeding lives that depend only on our care. It's slow work, hidden work, yet it's holy work, because what begins in weakness grows into strength through our quiet consistency and unwavering love. That image became my guide for how I approach my own new beginnings. I do things, but I don't rush things. My life, like that little child, needed patience, gentleness, and time to grow. I learned that healing couldn't be forced and progress couldn't be rushed. It had to be nurtured, fed with faith, watered with perseverance, and wrapped in grace. Some days I could only do a little, but that little mattered. Every effort, every prayer, every decision to rise again was like feeding the baby of my own destiny, small, tender, but full of potential. I realized that each small step forward, no matter how excitant, was a bold declaration that I refused to be defined by defeat. Every little victory, every tear dried, every new morning feast was a seed of transformation. And just like a mother watching her child take their first steps, I began to find joy in the unfolding, celebrating progress rather than perfection. Strength in the stillness. There were seasons in my life when everything felt painfully quiet. Too quiet. The world around me seemed to move forward while I stood still, waiting for doors that wouldn't open and for prayers that echoed back in silence. Those moments of waiting were hard. They tested my faith, my patience, and my hope. Yet beneath that silence, something sacred was unfolding, something I couldn't see then but can now look back on with deep gratitude. In that stillness, I was being refined. My roots were stretching deeper into the unseen soil of faith and resilience. It was as if God was gently teaching me to trust Him beyond what I could feel or understand. I began to learn that waiting wasn't wasted time, it was sacred ground. It was there that patience took shape within me and trust became more than a word. It became a way of living. Now, I understand that true strength isn't always found in action or achievement. Sometimes it's found in stillness, in choosing to remain steady when everything in you wants to rush ahead. It is a quiet courage to believe that even when nothing seems to be happening, something is growing beneath the surface. Like a seed buried in the dark, we too must trust the unseen seasons, for in the quiet we are strengthened, In the waiting, we are prepared, and when the time is right, what once felt like silence will bloom into something beautiful, proof that stillness was never emptiness but preparation for new life. The courage to begin again. As I bring this book to a close, let me reiterate the core message: the courage to begin again. This isn't a one time thing, it is a daily decision. It's waking up each morning and saying, I will not give up on myself. It's not about starting from scratch, it's about starting from experience with the wisdom and strength gained from all that life has taught you. Every setback carries within it the seed of a new beginning. When something ends, it doesn't mean your story is over, it simply means a new chapter is being written. Each fall makes you wiser, each loss softens yet strengthens you, each ending prepares you for something new. Strength in our struggles isn't about perfection, it's about persistence, it's about trusting that even when you cannot see the outcome, your faith and hard work are never wasted. Like Joy Mangano, I may not have known where the journey would lead, but I stayed true to my purpose. Every tear, every setback, even long nights was preparing me for something greater. And when the light finally began to break through, when the doors started opening, I realized that what once hurt me had healed me. The pain was pushing me toward my purpose. The struggle was shaping my strength. The waiting was preparing me for what was always meant to be mine. To begin again after pain, after loss, after disappointment, that is the purest kind of courage. It is believing your story doesn't end in brokenness. It is trusting that even when everything falls apart, something beautiful can still be rebuilt. That's right there is the beauty of life. It always gives you the chance to begin again. Let me share one last story with you, a story about a lady that I believe is so inspiring and encouraging. Amare grew up in a small village in West Africa, a land of red earth, bright skies, and people who carried strength in their eyes. Life was simple there. The morning smell of firewood and fresh millet porridge, the roosters crowed before dawn, and the whole village seemed to wake with the sun. Amari was the kind of woman who held her family together. She was strong, capable, and deeply devoted to her children. Her laughter filled their small courtyard like morning music. Even when her heart was heavy, she worked tirelessly, selling food at the market, sewing clothes for neighbors, helping others when she had little herself. Her heart was generous and her faith unshakable. But life, as it often does, tested her strength. When her marriage began to crumble, Amari found herself facing storms she never imagined. Her husband, once her companion, became her biggest source of pain. There were harsh words, long silences, and days that ended in tears. Eventually, she made the hardest decision of her life: to walk away. In our culture, living a marriage wasn't something people spoke about easily. It was considered shameful, even rebellious. People whispered, some judged, others avoided her altogether. But Amari knew in her heart that peace was better than pretending. She chose freedom, not out of pride, but out of survival. The early days after leaving were hard, very hard. She had little money, 5 children to raise alone, and no idea what the future would hold. The nights were sleepless, the days were long and uncertain. There were moments when she questioned herself. Did I do the right thing? Can I make it alone? Fear visited often, whispering in her ears that she had failed, that her best days were gone. But something within her refused to die. The same inner voice that once told her she was strong. The same quiet courage that helped her endure her darkest nights. And that was the beginning of her rebirth. Amari began small. She started selling cooked food by the roadside, rice and sauce, fried yams and beans. At first, she made just enough to feed her children. Then word spread that our food was good, our prices fair, and our smile welcoming. Slowly, customers came. She saved what she could, bought new cooking pots, and began expanding her small trade. Her children watched her, sometimes quietly, sometimes helping, and they learned resilience from her hands. They saw her rise before the sun, carry heavy loads, and still return home with laughter in her eyes. They saw her fail and then try again. And how she tried again. One day, a local women's group invited her to share her story. Amari stood before them, her voice trembling at first, then growing stronger as she spoke. She told them how she lost everything but gained herself, how she cried, prayed, and still believed in the goodness of tomorrow. When she finished, the women clapped, some cried. One said, "You've reminded us that we can begin again too." That was the moment Amari realized that her pain had become her power. Her story wasn't just her own anymore, it had become a seed of hope for others. Years later, her small food business grew into a local restaurant. She trained other women to cook, to save, to start their own trade. She sent all her children to school, and every time one graduated, she whispered, "We did it." She often said, "I didn't plan to be strong, I just didn't want to give up." And that is what courage looks like. It's not the absence of fear, but the choice to rise above it, again and again. Every time I think about Amari's story, it always reminds me that the end of something is not the end of you. It's simply the turning of a page, the invitation to begin again. When life strips you of everything familiar, love, comfort, certainty, it's easy to believe that you're finished. But it's in those moments that the soul begins to rebuild. The ashes of yesterday become the soil of tomorrow. Like Amari, you may have walked away from something that once defined you. You may have faced rejection, loss, or disappointment that broke your heart. But if you still wake up every morning with breath in your lungs and hope in your spirit, then you should still have everything you need to begin again. You don't need to know the entire path. You just need to take the first step. And as you do, strength will meet you along the way. That is what the courage to begin again truly means. Not waiting for the perfect time, not pretending you are not afraid, but choosing to move forward even with the trembling hands. Closing thoughts. Number 1. What fears have kept you from starting over, and what will your life look like if you decided to move forward despite them? 2. When was the last time you gave yourself permission to fail and to try again afterward? 3. What does beginning again look like for you right now in your faith, family, relationships, or purpose? Conclusion. As I reach the end of this book, I look back on my journey, not with regret, but with gratitude. Every tear, every disappointment, every lonely night had a purpose far greater than I could see. The valleys I once feared became the very ground where my faith grew roots. The storms I thought would destroy me only revealed how deeply anchored I was in grace. What I once called breaking was in truth becoming. Life will always test you. It will strip away your comfort, stretch your patience, and challenge what you believe about yourself. But it is in those vital moments, those different moments of shaking, that your true strength is born. You will never know how powerful your spirit is until life gives you no choice but to rise. You will never know how deep your courage runs until you've walked through fire and refused to give up. I have learned that pain is not the enemy, it is a teacher. It calls forth the strength you never thought you had. It pushes you to grow beyond the limit you once accepted. And as you grow, you begin to see that every ending is an invitation to begin again, wiser and stronger than before. This book is not the end of my story. It is a declaration that life after breaking is possible and beautiful. It is a reminder that faith does not always remove the mountains, but it gives you the strength to climb them. So, wherever you are, whatever you have lost or endured, Dare to rise again. Dare to hope again. Let your scars tell the story of a woman or man who refused to stay down, because strength is not found in what you've overcome, it is found in who you've become through it. Love, Rihatou. About the book, have you ever stood at life's edge, torn between giving up and holding on, when everything you built suddenly falls apart and the only thing left is your will to survive? The courage to begin again is the unforgettable true story of a woman's fight to rise from the ruins of pain, rediscover herself, and rebuild her life with unshakable strength and grace. In this deeply personal and uplifting memoir, the author takes readers on a journey through our most defining moments: heartbreak, single motherhood, loss, and the quiet battles no one sees. With raw honesty and breathtaking vulnerability, she reveals how life's greatest trials can become the very soil for which resilience grows. About the author. Rihatou Temete was born in Rihatou, Togo. A proud mother of 5, she embodies strength, courage, and perseverance. After completing her primary education in Togo, she moved to Sweden, where she obtained a vocational education and qualification as a nurse assistant and now works in elderly care. She studies to become a specialist nurse in psychiatry. Outside of her professional life, she finds joy in reading, cycling, and spending quality time with her children. She dreams of advancing her knowledge to become a social worker and a person of significance in the future.